Hello and thank you for joining us on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, President Buhari orders service chiefs to ensure nothing stops Anambra governorship election. Bandits killed 343, kidnapped 830 and injured 210 persons in Kaduna in 3 months as Governor El-Rufai urges President Buhari to declare bandits as terrorists. And later on the show, confusion reigns in Taraba State as Federal High Courts sitting in Jalingo clears candidates banned by Supreme Courts. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Dotun Oladipo. So if you are ready, let the hangout start now. Let's begin Journalist Hangout on Sunday on a comic note, but critical notes. Senator representing Borno South, that's Ali Ndume, is lamenting over rising recurrent expenditure in the annual budget of the federal government. He threatened to leave the country if relevant authorities refuse to put necessary measures in place to arrest the ticking time bomb. Babajide, this is new. Ali Ndume is worried by the amount we spend on overhead and to carry out other responsibility, that's the recurrent expenditure.
Yes, he's particularly worried that in spite of the fact that there is a freeze on fresh employment into the Federal Civil Service, that expenditure keeps rising. What we get paid as salaries to federal workers keeps rising, and people are not being employed. So what is going on? That's the question. He looked at the figures over a period of 5 years, and clearly it keeps rising.
And it should not be rising because we are not employing more
people. It shouldn't even be rising at that proportion. The figures are staggering. So what's going on? And then when the man who heads the Wages Commission was asked to talk about the wage bill, he did not know the wage bill. He could not give the lawmakers the wage bill, the figure, the wage bill for the Federal Civil Service. So Ndume and co were very disappointed that what's going on. You should be able to tell us that currently this is the wage bill.
We are paying 1 billion per month,
so that
2 billion.
the lawmakers will be guided in the decisions that they are going to take in the final analysis. You can't go before those guys and not be harmed with the facts. Your aides must be around you. So that when you need help, like they are providing. In fact, before people go for those things, if not because we simply take everything lightly in our country, we are non-serious people. Before you go for such a thing, there ought to be a simulation, some form of simulation of the meeting that you are going to have. The question they are likely to throw at you, your aides should be able to simulate those questions so that you are ready.
Off guard.
You are ready. Whatever the lawmakers throw at you, you are ready. You should be able to explain what's going on. How come a recurrent is rising? How come our salary bill is rising? Whereas they have not lifted the embargo on employment. So what's going on? Are people simply giving themselves, allocating to themselves more by way of wages and all that? So these are questions that need to be asked. It's not, the solution is not for Ndume to run away. If people like Ndume, who are senators, who by far have deeper pockets than you and I, if they feel like running away, what will the rest of us do? Where will we go?
Go to Ghana.
He said he's going to Ghana. The rest of us may well go to Nigeria Republic.
And there will be crisis in all those countries.
Or Chad.
Small countries.
There's no place like home. He cannot go anywhere. He's one of the few people, at least, who speak the truth
to power.
In that, although I don't, it's not every time that I agree with him. Sometimes you just see clearly that this man is just trying to play to the gallery. But at least you see that by the law of averages, he speaks the truth most times. And you've got to give him that credit. But he cannot tell us that he wants to run away. Run away to where? Naza Kakuma, where are you going?
When you look at it, the overhead and what they spend, the perks of office, the allowances and everything, contributing to very expensive democracy we are running.
Yes, it's been established that ours is one of the most expensive democracies worldwide.
Yeah.
And but first, on this issue of wages and other things that constitute what wants to make Ndume run out. We over the years, I've seen semblances of this at the state and local government levels. If you have followed trends in the media, you would have seen states where governors have ordered that the records should be looked into, especially at the local government level. And then, here on this program, I once said it, in a particular local government, I think that was in Benue State, over 10,000 people were discovered to be on the payroll of a local government. That didn't exist.
Ghost worker syndrome is another.
So if that
big
exists
problem that we've not been able to solve
at that level of government, then why are we not looking at what is happening at the federal level? Because like BKO said, you have said, see, we're only going to do controlled employment. And we know where we need those employment. It is mainly in the area of security, where we need more policemen and more soldiers. So if you are now bringing in your bills and the thing keeps rising, because what we should be looking at perhaps will be, if you are saying retirement benefits happen to be on the rise, you say, okay, it's because we are not employing and people are getting retired. So it should mean that what we should be looking at is salary should be going down, retirement benefits should go up, but it won't be at the same state. State because retirement less. Is less. What you are paying as pension, as gratuity, is less than what you pay the worker. So what is happening? And for me, I've always been an advocate of our unions not being antagonists, but working hand in hand with the government to check some of the things going on in the civil service. You have a lot of redundant hands in the civil service. Let's leave even the issue of ghost workers. You have too many people who are not needed even in the service. Some have said employment in government should be social service. I disagree completely. Because if you are not rendering any service, I don't see why I should be paying you. Or if I feel that you have 4 people in a particular office and 2 of you can do that job without any stress, without putting you under undue pressure, then you should be able to cut it to that.
What's the sense of having 6 vehicles in the department and you have 24 drivers?
Some years back, I went into one office, in the office of the head of the civil service. They had 4 accountants. And you know what they do, sir? One person works in a month, the other 3, they go on leave. For themselves, so they decide it on their own. One person works.
Let's even put figures to this man's desire to run away.
He can.
He said in 2018, it was 3.5 trillion.
Yes.
Sorry?
3.5 trillion.
Overhead for civil service.
Yes. Then 4 trillion for 2019. In 2020, 4.5 trillion. In 2021, 5.6 trillion.
Yeah.
Then in the projected 2022, is projected that it will be 6.8.
Almost 7 trillion.
Yes. Roughly, this is roughly 7 trillion for in the 2022 budget.
And that's about our budget.
That's what is projected.
That's about our budget.
So where are we going to find money
to pay the
to go into capital project? No, it's just in discipline. In discipline, clearly there are areas where it's possible that a good chunk of this is there are even ghost workers. A good chunk of these services ghost workers.
And some are even dead. And some people are collecting the salary on their behalf.
That was what those pension thieves were doing now.
Yes.
People were dead. They cloned their
identity
documents and cloned their identity and began to take money.
Finally, before we leave this, Jide, why is it difficult? Since I was a young man, I discovered that I've been hearing of this ghost worker. Why is this so difficult to look for a technological driven way or something that's very simple to eliminate this?
No, they've been trying to do it, and a lot of the states, a lot of the very serious governors have succeeded in reducing this thing drastically. But with time, they still find a way to bring some of them in. It's a terrible thing, whereby you have a local government, a 2-year-old boy is on the wage bill of a local government. It's a crazy system.
It's very crazy.
All right. There is fire on the mountain regarding insecurity in Nigeria, and people are really running for cover. The executive vice chairman of the Nigerian Communications Commission, as NCC, citizens made about 34 million emergency calls between January and August 2022. 2021.
Yes,
I beg your pardon. This year, I can't remember the last time I've made this distress call. I don't know, maybe the figure. I know that in our senior clients, the 911 used to be the most popular one.
People use it a lot.
What's up with Nigeria?
Yes,
I don't
you
expect
can't have the kind of security problems we have without people calling the security operatives.
Do you know it? Do you know the number offhand?
Of course, there is even the NCC chairman used the occasion to also publicize it. You know? So people will make those calls, and I want to believe that a lot of those calls are not frivolous. In Lagos, for example, the government has encouraged people not to hesitate to call the distress lines so that they can be attended to. And what he's saying is that, what the NCC boss is saying is that during COVID, there were 1,500 calls related to COVID-19. Maybe somebody was suspected to be ill, and the relations will simply call, because Lagos publish those lines everywhere.
When they bring the ambulance
emergency,
to come and evacuate people.
So 1,500 calls. So if that's talking about last year, that was the peak of the crisis. Now, if 35 million made emergency calls and he qualified it itself for security and life-threatening situations.
35 million.
Yes, I want to believe that, yes, some of this may be motor accident related, but majority, a clear majority of these calls were in respect of security, distress call relating to security. So it underlines the extent of the problem that we are going through. And if they will break this down, I wish they can break this down to states. We know where those calls are coming from.
Most of those calls.
Yes, it will also help us.
By bandits.
It will also help us to solve problems. We now know where security agents are much needed, where we need to beef up security and all that. But a lot of these calls are largely security related, and 35 million is a lot. Talking about just about 7 months is a lot. It's a huge
distress
number.
call. 35 million distress calls within 7 months. I can tell you, I don't need to understand the statistics. This 35 million, the responses they got, it might not be up to 2 million. As in, let me call and people the rescue. The way you do 911, next the policeman that is down your streets is attending, is coming to your house to ask, ma'am, what's the problem?
Unfortunately, our response can't be that fast.
You are under police, because grossly under
everything is just, even if it is fire. Imagine that even in Lagos, our sophisticated Lagos, there are 20 fire issues at about the same time. Imagine what the response will be like. So it can't be as it should be. It can't. And that is where the challenge is. There are certain situations that you don't even need to call because you are sure there's somebody nearby who is already looking, who is already attending to you. There are safety valves already in place in some countries. You know, but in this case, we need to go that extra mile. And by the time you are calling, they tell you the patrol car does not even have fuel, or these people are already attending to emergency somewhere else, and then it's just all over. How do we attend to this is what we should now be looking at, so that we don't need to get to the point of the emergency calls. We need to have put systems in place that can guard against these emergency calls. That's the question we should be asking. Because if we are, I'm sorry to use the word glutton, if we are happy that this system of calling is working, then I have my fears. I have my fears because it is not the calling that matters now. It is the response. Like I tell people, some people say they are fleeing the country because of insecurity. And I say, where you are going to? The statistics are worse. The only difference between us and those countries is that the rate of resolution, getting those who are behind those issues,
Yes.
they are higher. That's the difference.
The rate of killings in
It's
Nigeria is the highest in the world now.
Now,
Killings in the
Killings in the
There's
world.
no
now,
country
yes.
like us.
No, for
Not
now.
even Syria, not even Afghanistan, not Iraq.
But before now,
It's officially what the country.
in reality, if people know that if I commit this offense, like they will say in some of the crime programs that we watch, that I'll be caught in within 72 hours. They won't even try it, but they know that getting away with it is almost 100%. So they keep doing what they need to do. It is how we are going to reduce this issue of calls that we should be looking at. How do we tackle it? How do we ensure that citizens are safe? And that it is only in
And it's only in 23 states, so it's not in every state.
It's not
For
because
this-
the numbers are not
These
in-
statistics are for just
Yes, the
23
number
states.
it's not functional in some states yet. The emergency
Number.
communication center
Yes.
is not functional in some
What?
states.
Just told me that number is 112.
Yes, it's
Yes,
112.
112.
112. In case you don't have it, you might have an emergency anytime. So just
It's
write
112.
it down.
It's
112.
toll free. There is no.
Toll free. They won't charge
Once you're in distress, maybe a rapist is in the
Anything
neighborhood,
just say your
you're
area,
trying to rape.
Just call
Just
112.
save a life. You can
Save a life, yeah.
actually save a life by.
Oh, there
making
was
this-
one night I
Julia,
was
how can we improve our? What are those things we need to put in place to improve our emergency response rate? Because I'm sure they are not going to release these statistics to us. That out of those 35 million that they are talking about, how many were they able to respond to, and how many were they able to salvage the situation?
They will not. Their own is to make sure that those calls, that the toll-free lines work. Their own is to keep them working. So once the call has been received,
It's none of their business.
well, there is no.
Anything.
It's not NCC's business anymore. NCC has done well to keep these lines,
This-
keep
the
them
112
working.
line
Yes,
active.
keep them working, and they are toll free. I'm happy that they are planning to also open offices in other states of the
That they
federation.
don't have.
Yes, they are planning to do it in 9 more states, and later on they will do the remaining. So we just need to keep our communities safer. Ambulances need to be provided in strategic locations. As we said before, there must be a primary health center in every political ward.
Yes.
That was the design.
Not even local government.
No, every political ward.
For what?
Every ward,
yes.
every ward, every political ward.
Basic
That was the
primary,
design.
Decent
Primary
well-equipped
health care
primary health center.
with the full complement of his medical staff, beginning
Doctor,
with doctors.
nurses,
Because what you find in a lot of those primary health centers is that they don't have
enough qualified
doctors.
hands.
There are other people, nurses, function as doctors and all that. No, that should not be the case. They should have doctors. Everybody is going to the tertiary level. That is where you are now. You have a good number of doctors are working at the tertiary health level. We need to look at the rural. So then when these emergency lines, when the emergency services are activated, they are taking them somewhere. And Medicare should be available where they are taking people to. And then, of course, rapid response, or what I'll call motorized patrols. We need motorized patrols in our country. In every community, people should be able to benefit from motorized military patrols or police patrols, so that when there is distress in the community, it is that motorized patrol that will respond quickly to go and deal with the situation. Until we're able to do that, your guess is as good as mine, as per what came out of these 35 million emergency calls in 7 months.
All right, moving on now. Ogun State is worried about the ripple effect of the congresses conducted by the All Progressive Congress, APC. The state government said the crisis at the party congresses pose new threats to peace in the states. Dotun, the All Progressive Congress had their congresses across the country last week, and we saw areas in which states in which they had outright breakdown of law and order. So we are talking about Ogun State now.
Yes, I'm sure you are aware that even Oyo is here to have it because of
possible
all these issues. The setup in the party in Ogun State is not as there are factors, there are power centers that appear to be equally balanced in Ogun State. The governor is there in terms of being the leader of the party. That's Governor Dapo Abiodun. There is another power center, the former governor of the state, Ibikunle Amosun. Fortunately, unfortunately, both camps have heavyweights backing them. The governor has an Otumba Gbenga Daniel, a former governor, with him. Chief Olusegun Oshoba is there. Olusegun Oshoba is also there. So when you look at the situation in Ogun, it appears to be something that is going to be very difficult to tackle, to resolve, because both sides are looking at issues that go beyond these primaries. Just like in every other state, they know that whatever happens with these congresses will affect the outcome in 2023 at the general election. So everybody wants to battle at this level to produce candidates to occupy all the elective offices from the ward to the national level.
But that's the goal of all the primaries. But the issue is, why are people resorting to violence?
I want to ask you particularly that why is it difficult for Senator Ibikunle Amosun, why is it difficult to accept the reality and move on? 2019, we've gone past 2019, and I feel he's still a senator in that party. Why is it be difficult for him to work with this new government?
Because one, ego is a big issue. Nigerian politicians have elephant-sized ego.
Elephant-sized.
Some people would never reconcile with certain individuals. They will pretend like all is well, but when it comes to elections, they will never work together, whether they are in the same party. We've even seen people left a party because another person came into that party.
Yes.
You've seen it in Kano, you've seen it in Sokoto.
Kwara.
You've seen it in Sokoto, you know, Tairu Bafarawa.
That this person is coming to this party.
The moment Tairu Bafarawa and Maga Takadawa Mako cannot work in the same party. Kwankoso in Kano and the former governor Shekarau, they cannot work in the same party. One usually leaves the place for the other person. So, in the case of Ogun State, you remember that even when the president came to campaign in the state,
The president was stoned.
they were throwing
Sachet water.
sachet water in the direction of the president. There was nowhere else that the president faced that kind of humiliation in the rally of his party.
A state controlled
A state
by APC.
supposedly controlled by his party. And on that day, people suffered broken limbs.
Yeah.
I remember an event that I attended that I was asked to present motorcycle to one of the guys who suffered an injury during that same rally. They were not supposed to, knowing how volatile that state was, and the rallies that they've had, how thugs of both groups have been attacking one another. The area, the field, the open space in front of the president should have been cleared. So there was security breakdown to have allowed people to stand there.
To even move that
They should have
place.
known that the moment you raise the hand of Prince Abiodun up, that those people will react.
They came
Don't also forget that it was during that time that very early in the morning, posters of the Abiodun were being destroyed
in the same state.
in this yes, at the venue of the thing.
Yes.
They were destroying as
Yes.
early as 6 a.m.
And they invaded the rally. They came.
Okay. What I expect is that Ogun State, the kind of violence that we were witnessing many years back, during when Otumba Gbenga Daniel and Bukule Amosun were contesting for superiority. They even brought that violence to my area in a place called Tipa Garage. People were killed. We felt that, okay, Ogun State is now witnessing an era of peace. We will not return to that era when people lost their limbs on a day the president visited, when people were killed in Tipa Garage in the Akute area. But what did we see? Thugs wielding guns, a mere primary of a party within their own party.
Yes, yes.
Shooting into the air and all that, threatening the lives of other people. My feeling is that Ogun State deserves peace, not just because some of us reside in Ogun State, but because Ogun State is critical to our country. It's the true gateway. And it's a state that is growing now. A state that is benefiting from its closeness to Lagos. You can see businesses moving in the direction of Ogun State.
And everything.
The last thing that people want to see is an Ogun State overtaken by violence.
And look at the number of industries.
That's what I'm saying. I said it's benefiting from its closeness to Lagos. Industries are moving there. The worst that can happen is for that state to now be signposted by violence. The moment that state is signposted by violence, investors will not want to come around.
No one will.
So the people who are flexing muscles, giving thugs money to be harassing other people in the name of election, they need to be spoken to. And they need to be spoken to at the highest level. Anywhere that there is potential for violence within the APC, Mr. President is the leader of the party. He has to call the people concerned and say, look, I don't want violence. Because some people are already too big to be spoken to by other people. I'm not mentioning names. But at least Mr. President can talk to such people. We don't want violence in Ogun State. What happened during the Congress should not be allowed to repeat itself, because a lot of us were shocked that this could happen. We've had peace for such a long time. So they need to talk to these contending political figures and get them to allow peace to reign in the interest of everyone. Usually, you remember isn't it what Delegate said, unfortunately, in all wars, those who die are those who do not deserve to die. The politicians who trigger violence at every turn, they hardly die as a result of this violence. Their children hardly die.
They are not in the country.
So they should just let peace reign.
But the kind of atmosphere in Ogun State right now, I was thinking that after the 2019 election, you know, people that went to APM, they came back to APC, and in the spirit of reconciliation, that they would have, it's about give and take, that the governor would have had to sit down with some stakeholders and would have negotiated and everything by now. We shouldn't be seeing what we're seeing.
Unfortunately, it is also part of what is what instigates this violence, because our politics is all about the perks of office. It is not about service to people. What people do is, once we win election, they sit down, they share the positions, and they even tag some juicy. Look at the way we do in the National Assembly, when committees, even in the state houses of assemblies, when committees are constituted,
yes,
we look at some and say, these states, they have more juicy appointments in terms of chairmanship and vice chairmanship. That is all our politics is about. And that is very dangerous. And this is behind all of this contention. What is in need for me and my people? What is in need as service to be rendered to Nigerians? So we still need to sit down and look at the kind of politics that we are playing. Are we going to keep it up like this? Because when it gets to the point where politics becomes service to people, you will see that a lot of these people that we have in politics, they will withdraw. A lot of them they came into politics all because they had a slight opportunity, a little opportunity to get into power. And once they taste it, they don't want to leave. You see those who are living in the face me, I face you.
I think also that every party, especially the APC, should have conflict resolution mechanisms, effective mechanism for resolving conflicts. The party is very weak in that area. I can tell you that there are some conflicts that began in 2015
that are still, yes,
that are still there.
In all the parties.
So why am I surprised that the one that we had that began in 2018
you said something, BKO, that there are some people who have become bigger than those committees they have set up.
They need to in as much as we don't want to mention names. After the 2019 election, BKO, there are some camp that a lot of people feel that some of these things are even stoked by the presidency, the crisis, because in the situation where we have a sitting governor and all juicy appointments, the way you said, he's going to one direction, and there's
but that one is past now. It's no longer happening like that. That one is post 2015.
No,
it's no longer.
No, it is part of the problem now.
Post 2015.
Yes.
You are talking about post 2015.
No, this is post 2019.
I know what I'm saying.
Okay.
You know? I know what I'm saying. Because if we expand this thing beyond the normal, it will then look like maybe we are supporting a particular group.
No.
The truth is, people must learn to come together.
Yeah.
And as I always say, governors have a bigger role to play. Because when the shoe is on the other foot, you then realize that maybe I could have done better.
Better, yes.
Governors have a bigger role to play to bring people around. Let us be able to say, Mr. Governor made efforts to bring these people in. It is this person that frustrated it, so that that person can be called out. I'm happy that some APM members came back to the party. They even registered them during the registration season. So why are we still having this needless threat to lives in Ogun State? So we can't have the point that you made about the president encouraging certain things, or the presidency. We can't have a situation in which you are going into a state and the president is in two minds about whose hand to raise up.
Exactly.
We can never encourage that kind of thing. Or say, okay, let the people vote for who they want. No. You must encourage the people to vote for the candidate of your party.
Your party.
So I want to believe that those mistakes were made in 2019 and they won't happen again. Yeah. There is one party It's the candidate of that party that must be voted for, that must be campaigned for. If you don't do that, then you are encouraging anti-party activities or receiving people who are bringing candidates of a rival party.
And smiling with them, snapping with them.
No, they can't.
They shouldn't.
All right, moving on to the southeast now. There's now hope in the face of fear hanging around the peaceful conduct of the November 6th governorship election in Anambra State. President Muhammadu Buhari has instructed service chiefs to ensure that nothing stops the election from holding. National Security Advisor Babagana Mongunu, who briefed journalists about the outcome of the security meeting the president had with service chiefs, said President Buhari gave the order due to worrying security challenges in the southeast. Let's share the story with you.
We want to assure the people of Anambra State and indeed all Nigerians that the government is committed to conducting those elections and it has to be free and fair. We are going to put every machinery in place to ensure that people are well secured, and we are going to dominate the place to ensure that this place is calm and quiet to provide for a free and fair elections.
The president has directed that under no circumstances will anything be allowed to stop the elections from taking place successfully. The people have a right to vote. They have a right to select their leader, and no group or individual will be allowed to stimulate anarchy and chaos leading to murderous activities. The president has made it very, very clear that the armed forces, security agencies and law enforcement agencies must make sure that the elections take place.
All right. Babajide, well, you know, I've been counting down to this election and it's not been easy, thinking that we'll still have to do our job and we'll go to Anambra State to cover this election. But the security report from Anambra State, the security situation in that state particularly, that they've said that the IPOP people have said that, look, if you don't release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, there won't be an election.
By November 4th.
That's the situation right now. And we're looking at the turn-up and we're looking at even the security. And if people don't see security, it's just going to be, God forbid, it should not be like the normal Monday, sit at home. Because if people don't turn up on election day, who are the people that are going to vote? So if they don't see security and they are not assured of security presence, well, thanks to President Muhammadu Buhari for directing and deploying these service chiefs, how effective it's going to be is left to be seen.
I believe that we will be able to put enough security measures in place. Election after every 4 years is sacrosanct. We must have our elections. We must have election in that state. The parties are prepared, especially the candidate of ABGA. It's gone everywhere. It's gone everywhere. He's been campaigning. He's put his life on the line. He's been campaigning. Despite the risk to his life, he's been going everywhere. Even after the attack at Ihiala, he still campaigned the next day. He still had rallies. So I want to believe that the election will take place, and one of the ways by which we can make the election take place is for us to protect the people. Let the people see assurances of their safety by the presence of security operatives on the streets, not molesting people, just patrolling the streets and giving people that feeling that, look, they've not been left alone. Because the reason people are refusing to come out on Mondays and it's not for any reason other than the fear that if they were sighted on the streets, they could be gunned down. And we've seen people gunned down. Yes. We've seen people's businesses set ablaze. We've seen people burnt alive in their Kemarua and their cars. We've seen women restaurateurs have the entire soup that they prepare turned over into a gutter. Nobody wants to go through such things. So banks are staying away, despite the threats from governors that will withdraw your license if you don't open. You can withdraw someone's license, but withdrawing a man's license is not the same as withdrawing his life. You cannot protect
The
people.
person.
You can't protect people against attack by unknown government. And you are now issuing threats.
If the bank should open, if those guys enter,
they will not just loot. They will loot the place, and then still kill people.
Yeah.
So that will be double jeopardy. Nobody wants to witness that. You know, even in the last election, which you were fortunate to cover, privileged to cover, not fortunate, we had some threats. Threats were issued then that, look, if you do not allow us to have a referendum, there will be no election. But the election eventually took place. I am confident that we will have this election. But leaders of the Southeast must do their best to engage IPOB. Engage IPOB, get them to realize that there's nothing gained in stopping the people from having their election. The Constitution does not envisage a situation in which, when there is time for election, it will not take place. It's a constitutionally guaranteed matter that at so time, a governor must leave office and another person must be sworn in. We have not faced a situation in which that time came and that governor, for whatever reason, could not go, and then he stayed put. There's no such situation that the Constitution envisages.
So it's sacrosanct.
At some point, early next year, Governor Obiano must leave office. And the election is the means by which he can be ushered out of office. So IPOB should allow the election to hold. But we should also take steps to protect the people adequately. 30-something thousand policemen, that's impressive. I know that soldiers too will come in to assist the police and the Air Force and all security agencies.
The way it's looking now, because some of them are saying that, look, in as much as they can't release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as that this is Nigeria, we don't want to say Nigerian flag, that this is a Nigerian affair, that they don't want to have anything to do with Nigeria.
Well, that has always been the campaign, and the people are not relenting in reality. Like BKO said, this is an off-season election. We can afford to pack in as many security agents as we want to. But that fear remains of that threat issued by IPOB. When you look at it, from the sit-at-home that was even called off by IPOB, the level of attack has been they are worrisome, because you don't even know where they are going to strike. You can't have the same level. You can't have the same level of security in all parts of that state for that election. So it is a matter of looking at where the weak link is and then striking. So for me,
everybody cannot be in
villages.
Oka can be fortified, but about
not even from what we have seen, that these people don't even have regard for any level of security. They've attacked DSS office. They've gone into army bases.
They don't want to see you with the mobile policeman.
They've shot down Air Force base. So things are happening. You can see it. So except this is quickly withdrawn, for me, I believe even if people are going to come out, we are going to see
very low turnout.
It's going to affect
the lowest ever.
Nobody wants to risk his life. Nobody. Not even
for politicians.
For a situation in which we have found ourselves, where we don't even believe in government, where you don't believe that this person I'm electing is going to better my lot. So why should I go and risk my life?
Okay, let me take you to the Commissioner for Information in Anambra State now. C. Don Adinuba joins us via Zoom for more discussion.
Thank you for joining us.
Sit down.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to participate in this exciting program.
Thank you so much. Sit down. Good to see you again.
Yeah, my old friend.
And your red cap looks really regal.
Oh,
Are you a titled
you
chief?
know, oh yes, I have been a chief since December 31st, 2000.
Wow.
My people honored me and a couple of other people for what they regard as our modest contributions to the progress of our community.
Okay.
And I do cherish that honor.
Great.
I come from a very grateful community.
Thank you. Thank you. Sit down. Great.
Let's talk Anambra State now. And I've had to cover like 3-4 election cycles in Anambra State since the beginning of this democratic dispensation. And
yeah,
there has not been any cause for alarm. I've seen government changing from one party to another, and even the Afghan maintaining the seat, changing from one individual to the other. And so, but this particular one, it's very, very scary. Coming to Anambra now, it's very, very, I'm apprehensive.
Well, I understand your apprehension. We regret it. Our state for the past 7.5 years been regarded as the most peaceful and the most stable state in Nigeria. It's a record we are very proud of. What is going on now is a kind of crisis imposed on us from without, from outside. Most of the people have been caught in action trying to tamper with their security. Incidentally, hardly will you see anybody from Anambra State. From other states, but there is a particular aspect some of us need to gloss over. We have had 2 major elections in Anambra State in the last couple of years since Abga took over. Not one single incident of violence. Nowhere. Very peaceful. And for the first time, candidates who were defeated in a gubernatorial election congratulated the winner, held press conferences to do so, and read out their first statements. Unprecedented. In the past, people from Anambra State used to go as far as the ECOWAS Court of Justice. It's extremely ridiculous. Recognize that. It does appear to me that there are certain individuals, I don't want to name any name right now, that anytime they want to seek the governorship of Anambra State, before the election, there is always a crisis. It happened in 2003. We saw it all, burnings and so on and so forth. The same people are back, and the same thing is happening. So this goes beyond what we may call the regular non-state actors. There are certain politicians who have been doing what the Americans call crazy stuff. And we must focus on those people. They have been actually trying to dissuade our people from coming out to vote. They have always told them the election result has already been written. Don't bother to come out. Don't waste your votes. We know we are the ruling party. We are utilizing incumbency. It's been written. So why worry yourself?
Oh, sit down.
They've been doing that. I'm sure
sit down. Let us look at
the situation now.
Yes.
Okay, we are going
Let me just hold your breath there. Sit down, Adunuba. We'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. We're still on Anambra State. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. This is Journalist Hangout on Sunday, where we spend 120 minutes, almost 120 minutes, in trashing out issues of national importance. I have Babajide Kolade Otitoju still with us in house, and Dr. Oladipo is still with us. And before we went on break, we were talking to the Commissioner for Information in Anambra State, that's Sidon Adinuba. Sidon, thank you for hanging out there.
Sit down.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yesterday we read in the news that IPOB has issued a threat that if Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was not released on November the 4th, that by November the 4th latest, that it will impose, it will order a sit at home in Anambra State. You know that this form of civil defense, civil disobedience has worked so far in the southeast. If IPOB were to impose a sit at home, what do you think will happen on election day?
Okay, I read the news reports as you did. Something tells me that between now and that time, they will change their mind. Some prominent people have been engaging them in behind the scenes conversations. I can mention one person, Dr. Chukwuemeka Ezife, former governor of Anambra State, and the statesman through and through. He's been dialoguing with them. So I expect a change of stance. Whatever happens, I actually expect a huge turnout. This is a consequential a huge turnout. Well, if the other parties don't turn out and their supporters, I will not be surprised. You know, they are not doing campaigns into that well. Only ABGA is campaigning. I'm happy you mentioned it, that our candidate Soludo has been to practically every local government area. And everywhere he goes, there is a huge crowd, enthusiastic supporters. On Saturday, September 15th, when he had his flag off, we had the biggest rally ever in the history of Anambra State since the state was created. A huge crowd, very enthusiastic, committed. There are 34 Soludo solidarity groups, fiercely loyal to him, made up of young men and women. They are prepared to lay down their lives for Soludo. That kind of commitment I really see in Ebola. People are very passionate. So ABGA people will come out in full force. Making some people, others will continue. But I'm not expecting any casualties. What I know is that ABGA is ever prepared. The governor himself is exceedingly fearless, very courageous, bold. The whole country knows it. Soludo himself was attacked on March 31st. He lost 3 policemen guarding him. 2 days later, he was back on the soapbox, campaigning. He has displayed the kind of courage and commitment I do not associate with politicians. And his supporters are like that. ABGA people, members of Soludo solidarity groups, 34 groups will be there, all of us. So if others don't come out, for 2 reasons, they are practically giving up. You and I know it. They have not been campaigning. Some of them willing to hide it.
Don't you think?
Now said, okay, they're going to come out.
Don't you think it's the fear of being attacked?
Yeah, ABGA is. Yeah,
sit down.
It is ABGA.
Sit down. Don't you think that is the fear of being attacked that is making it difficult for these political parties to campaign publicly?
Well, that is the reason they give officially. But these are my personal friends. I talk with them regularly. In private, they have actually given up. Now, if Soludo, who was attacked on March 31st, lost 3 policemen who come out to campaign openly all over the place. Now, 12 days ago, in my own hometown of here, very unfortunately, we had a security breach. Yet, the next day, Soludo and the governor were all over the place, crowds all over the place. So they've actually given up. Everybody knows Soludo will win the election. The question is, what will be the margin? Will he repeat the 21/21 victory of 4 years ago? Soludo himself is targeting 329 wards to win in all of them. That is why he is campaigning the way he's doing. And we may not get 329, but we'll get something very, very close to that.
But under this atmosphere, sit down. Under this atmosphere,
Yes.
can you describe election as being free and fair? In a situation whereby you are saying your people in Afghan only will come out. And I don't even know, I'm not even sure, even if they want to sacrifice their life for your government, because the Monday sit at home is still effective. If IPOB is telling people not to come out, and people are saying they won't come out on Mondays across in the last 3 months, we've seen it. So what's the assurance that Afghan people will even turn up that day?
But you have actually answered that question before I came in. You did say that we require sufficient security presence. When you're having 34,000 policemen alone coming from outside the number states to reinforce police on the ground, and you're likely to have people from the Navy and from the Army. Well, and there's civil defense. And of course, the vigilante, Anambra vigilante group that has been very efficient. We expect what the National Security Advisor called overwhelming presence in all parts of Anambra State. That will give people confidence. If on previous Mondays we had a reasonable presence of security men, then the markets will be open. Everything will be.
Wow.
Because for me, the other thing I'll be expecting the government to do in Anambra State is to engage the people. Because there must be confidence building. If people have been attacked, even when IPOB said, see, we've withdrawn this at home on Monday, and they're still being attacked by some people who are claiming to be IPOB members, then the government will have a lot of work to do in terms of engaging the public, trying to boost their confidence. Say, we're on top of the situation.
This is an election that involves all parties.
We have called it an election. An election revolves around the people. Because if for instance, in the whole of the state, for instance, you used to have up to 5 million people voting, and for this election you don't have up to 1 million, definitely a winner will be declared based on that 1 million. What will you say?
Will it be up to 1 million?
I'm even saying, let's even assume that there are 1 million people voting.
Bigger states.
But will you say that is a true reflection of what people wanted? Fine. They may say, okay, it's still the fact that Abga will win. But even the man who has won, will he himself say he's confident that he has the votes of the people? So the government needs a lot of...
saying that he won.
That's the thing.
Even if it's 10 votes.
10 votes, exactly.
Yes.
Even if it's only the people in government that will come out to vote. But that shouldn't...
INEC is determined to conduct this election, and there's no going back. They've given notice of election already. There's no going back.
Our elections even get to that.
It's already very close.
Very close.
Very close. Very close.
Very close. About 2 weeks away.
After next Saturday, the upper Saturday,
The other one,
is the election. So, Jide, in all this, because we've analyzed it, we know that even out of the top contenders, we have PDP there, we have APC there, and we have ABGA. From what we've seen, from the vibe we've gotten so far, we know that, look, it might likely be just it might not be a keenly contested election like that. It's as if Anambra is naturally an ABGA state.
No, it's always been. I think that the people are still gripped by nostalgia, the Ojukwu nostalgia, and they see ABGA as what Ojukwu left behind for them.
His legacy.
Yes, they see it as one of his abiding legacies. So, when it comes to Anambra election, they don't joke. It is ABGA. But national elections, PDP has dominated
so far.
National Assembly elections and presidential elections over the years. But when it comes to the state and House of Assembly election, they vote ABGA. So that tradition is there, and I won't be surprised if that tradition is maintained. And the way the governor, the way the candidate is campaigning is determined, but others are determined to accept that they are not able to campaign as freely as they would like to.
Senator Andy Uba is not somebody that speaks in the media.
The APC candidate?
Yes. He's not somebody that speaks in the media, but he works underground. He knows how to, he understands politics. And I was told that he has been working so hard to make sure, to ensure his emergence.
Yeah, he was governor of the state for a few days.
Yeah.
So this is his chance
and he has been contesting after that.
to have a second bite of the cherry.
The seats.
So second bite at the cherry. So he's working on so many defections to the APC. Normally, when these defections happen, you want to think that they make a party stronger. But as we saw in those states, there are so many defections up to the point that I was even afraid that the governor's wife would defect.
Yes.
Because everybody around the governor literally defected. So I was waiting that maybe it's madam that will defect next. But at the end of the day, it didn't stop Obaseki from winning, and he won with a handsome margin. So politics can be very unpredictable. So these defections from the House of Assembly, from everywhere to the APC, we never can tell what will happen.
The PDP factor, Peter Obi, I don't think Peter Obi is pulling his weight the way he's meant to be.
Well,
People across the Southeast respect Peter Obi right now. They respect him, and he left his mark in Anambra. So he's backing the PDP man, Izigbo.
Unfortunately, like we've always said on this program, politics in Anambra is a different ball game. You can see that everybody there on their own, they are billionaires who are ready to throw in everything into the game. So, like Biko said, the party that you belong to, in this case, will matter a lot, and that is why Abga is having the upper hand. When you watch it, you will see that no matter how grieved a Bianca Ojukwu is, Abga is always going after her. Because nobody wants that family to move against that party. It will have a lot of backlash. No matter how you think a paperweight and Ojukwu is. In that state. You don't want to offend any of them. So Peter Obi has always been trying to be a statesman. He doesn't want to be seen to be in the fray unnecessarily. And then the other part of it all is those who are playing in the PDP now in Anambra State, how well have they related and worked with Peter Obi? So when you look at it, you should be set in the case of Abga and Soludo. That's the governor now and Soludo. For a man who has shown commitment to you, who has, if you watch Soludo everywhere he goes, he's praising Willie Obiano as governor. How many of these PDP people?
Okay, let me take you back to CD Don for his final take. CD Don Adinuba, the Commissioner for Information in Anambra State. Now, finally, hopefully in 2 weeks' time, we want to assure people across the world the kind of election they should expect? Because we are talking about turnout.
I'm sorry for the political problem we had at the time. We are actually ready. How we wish the election could be held today. How do you talk about P2B being very popular? Well, he's exceptionally popular with journalists in Lagos. That's number one. He did well. He did well as Abga governor. But the moment he joined another party, Abga defeated him in his hometown in every election. Local government area will defeat. If he comes again, we will defeat him. I should think he has given up. You and I know very well, PDP is not in this race. APC is in it simply because of the fact of incumbency. We don't expect Abga, we don't expect APC to score up to 1/3 of the votes scored by Abga. It will be a miracle if they do it. We actually, as I told you, Soludo is targeting to win in all 329 wards in Anambra State. We may not get that. They will get something very, very close. They have not been campaigning. Just APC has not been campaigning. APC people are so funny. They can't even come out in the streets. My very good friends who joined the APC a few months ago, members of the House of Assembly, can't even go to their hometowns today. One of them attended a funeral on Friday, 15th October. That's 8 days ago. Yeah,
we have to leave
these
there.
people chase him away. Yeah, he attended a funeral for joining APC. These people chase him away.
Lord, thank you. We don't have time again. Thank you. Thank you. Wish you the best of luck.
Yeah.
The Commissioner for Information in Anambra State, C. Don Adinuba, Commissioner from Anambra State, and hopefully.
Yeah,
by 5th of
we can only wait. We can only wait. Time is a gentleman.
We'll see the turnout.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Okay, moving on now. The security in Boglo in Kaduna State continues to leave a sour taste in the mouth. According to data released during the third quarter of 2021, security report presented to Governor Nasir El-Rufai, 343 persons died due to banditry and other violent attack, while 830 people were kidnapped in the state, 830 in the state from July to September this year, July to September. Meanwhile, Governor El-Rufai has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to declare bandits in the northwest as insurgents or terrorists to enable the military to deal with them ruthlessly without any major consequences in the international law. Now, Babajide, I remember some weeks back, it was Babajide that actually enlightened me about this issue. I asked you that, now we have the Super Tucanos. Why is it that you can't deploy the Super Tucanos to go to those forests that they know that they have these bandits, their hideouts? You now told me that, no, the agreement they signed, this was weeks back. I remember after the program, outside, this was that there's a kind of existing agreement. I didn't know that time that such agreement existed, that these people, they are not seen as by the international community as terrorists yet.
No,
a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians in their mind now, they call them terrorists. And anytime they correct us on the program that why are we not calling them terrorists? But we've been telling people that officially these people are not, they've not been labeled terrorists.
Yeah, even by design, by the idiosyncrasies, by the way they operate, they are not terrorists. And nobody, even with a gun to my neck, will make me call them terrorists. Because I've said before, it will be a revolt against my education, against the education that I've had in my life, to call a clear bandit a terrorist. If you want to see terrorists the way they operate, go to Kashmir. Go to Kashmir. Targeted killings, they kill people, they are not after the money.
Not after the money.
They are not after the money. That's what they are doing.
Largely political reasons.
Political reasons. What they want a state of their own. That's what they're after. When the Islamic Brotherhood transited in Algeria to a full-blown terrorist group because it won an election in 1992 and the military didn't allow it to take power, they started beheading people. They popularized the idea of beheading people. They beheaded so many journalists. Terrorist group. It became a terrorist group that the Algerian army had to fight. Another thing, ideology. Yes, there's an ideology. You don't need, Governor El-Rufai says that for the military to be able to tackle them in line with international, no. You don't need, if not for the agreement that we signed with the Americans. Remember, the Americans, ordinarily, if it was a democratic government power, they would not have sold weapons to us.
No, it was Donald Trump that assisted us.
Donald Trump made up his mind from the beginning. The moment President Buhari won an election, he sent for President Buhari and he told him, I will help you defeat terror in your country and I will sell weapons to you. Throughout the time that we had Obama refused to sell weapons. Even the weapons that we wanted to buy through a third party, Obama vetoed it. Obama, that some people in Nigeria see as their God. The weapon that we wanted to buy through a third party, Israel, he vetoed it. He vetoed it. He said no, because the country selling a weapon to you reserves the right. When you want to sell to a third party, they can say, okay, so person, you
The
have to talk to them.
must.
You have to talk to them. And they said, no, don't sell to Nigeria. That was why Goodluck Jonathan government had to go all the way to Ukraine.
Okay.
To buy those T-72 Russian tanks. And what do you know what we did to even bring those weapons? Those weapons had to be cannibalized. It was in the Nigeria they were now
assembled.
A lot of people don't know some of these things. And then to simply, you can't designate bandits as terror. It's not as easy as Nigerians think it. They think you just announce, oh, they are terrorists.
Finish your...
The truth is, let me tell you, there is an opportunity to tell people what they don't know, so that they don't wait and wait and wait. We are responding to emotions. Americans sold weapons to us grudgingly. The Democrats, in fact, after they came to power, there was an attempt to even revoke that contract. They just gave up, saying that this thing already to sold to Nigerians. Why? Why? Because they believe that our human rights record is not good enough. The Leahy law that was cited back then to stop us from buying weapons from America, that Leahy law comes in anytime the country is about to do military business with a country with a human record that is suspect. They cite the Leahy law. That was what the lawmakers cited at that time. Is very critical. Constantly, even without Amnesty International, they have their own record means of finding out, verifying things. I was telling someone, I said, if you go and fire missiles from Tucano in the northwest, you think the Americans will not know, you are fooling yourself. They don't have to come to your country to know. They don't have to come to your country to know. They are monitoring you. So the thing is, now you know the problem that the president and other people have. When you want to designate a group as a terrorist group, each of them, you must get their names. Then in that gazette, you list all of them. These are terrorists. These are designated as terrorist groups. Then the issue of funding, you want to ensure that they don't get foreign funding, because the American and other people will be tracking funding and ensure that it doesn't go to them. In the Northwest, how many of those boys? You and I quarrel today, I go to set up my own bandit group. How many of those groups does the Attorney General have their names? You are dealing with hundreds of bandit groups.
Okay, so how did this government now get the names of the leaders of IPOB that was designated a terrorist group?
IPOB, no, the IPOB was, what was it called? IPOB is one group. It's so easy. One group led by Nnamdi Kanu. They first proscribed it, which is easy to do, and then say, okay, these are our reasons for proscribing them, and say, okay, by some of their actions, we see them as a terrorist group. That's one group now. Go to the Northwest, there are so many groups, so many, how many of them, some of them you don't know.
If there was a
story, even me as an individual, I know not less than 15 bandit leaders. 15 that I know, within Katsina and Zamfara alone. And I've not gone to some of the
Niger.
I've not gone to Niger.
Sokoto?
Yes, Dogo Gide operates in Niger. Even now is operating in Kebbi. Do you know how many boys have even come out of Dogo Gide himself? Do they know? So how many of them are you going to list? Every day that group, as you list, if you have listed and gazetted, the group will be expanding. That's the dilemma that the Attorney General is not a fool. He knows that Nigerians are responding to emotions, and this is not an emotional thing. It is a legal thing and commonsensical thing. By their disposition, they are just doing it for the money. That's not the definition of a terrorist group. I've challenged people, read what
they don't want to take territories.
Their own is to just make money off people.
Economic factor.
Is that how the terrorists in Kashmir, is that what they are doing? Are they simply kidnapping people for money? No, ordinarily we should not even have gone into this, because we have a bigger business. This is As I told someone, I said, the majority is not always right. The fact that everybody is going one direction does not mean that Babajide will go in that direction.
Even if you listen to one of the parades done by the first spokesman, CP Frank Mba, one of the guys there said he arranged for his cousin to be kidnapped alongside himself. They took them into the forest. That in that same forest, there are about 50 other gangs there.
And you must get all their names.
50.
The names of each of those groups.
As soon as he was kidnapped and he was released 5 days after, another group took him.
Huh?
Abducted him. Yes, abducted him.
There is no excuse for us. There is no excuse for us to not defeat bandits.
No.
Not until we designate them as bandits before we can defeat them.
Exactly.
As terrorists.
Yes, it's not until it's just okay. The Americans stop us from using Mi-35P from killing them. Did they tell us not to use the F-7?
That tank that used to that comes out multiple.
Did they tell us not to use 40 barrels against them?
Exactly.
Just one weapon. Because of one weapon, we want to say, okay, they must be caught terrorists. It's just Tucano. And I've said it that for me, and I've even in engagement with Air Force officers, I tell them that in my view, we even need ground attack helicopters more than we need a Tucano. The more ground attack helicopters that you have, because it allows you to have close contact combat and support the troops effectively. You kill when they see those the helicopter coming. Ask any of them, Boko Haram people, they start running. Because it get close to you and there's no room for escape. So we don't even need. We don't need.
It's not Nigeria, about the destination.
It's just this. Yes, if we have the right approach of all the arsenal in the Nigerian Army, Armory, and the Air Force, it is only Tucano alone that they said you should use in the northeast because of the fear that we will use it on our civilians. That is what those guys are saying, and that's what Lehi law talks about. That if there is no guarantee that they won't use a weapon on the civilians, then don't sell to them. So because of Tucano alone, we are saying we cannot defeat an army that has Air Force, has Navy. We can't defeat a band of bandits except we are allowed to use Tucano alone. No, I don't think the country is that weak.
Now, talking about the Boko Haram now, so like we have our Tucanos in place. I think 2 of the number now. We have the second batch. The second batch came in last week and everything. So, but Boko Haram, the difference between Boko Haram and these bandits is that they want to take territory. Yeah. They want to Islamize the country. They want to have their own government, collect their own taxes, do all sorts of things. That's why ideologically they're different.
That's just the difference. If otherwise, like we have said, we should not have a problem if we are set to deal with the bandits. Nobody has stopped you from doing other things. So why are we particularly about this Super Tucano going into the northwest? We can do better than this lame excuse. That's my own opinion. It's as far as I'm concerned, it's lame.
So let me take you to the security report, because this is the second time on this program that I will be reading the security report from Kaduna State, and I feel that, look, this is very, very alarming. The data released during the third quarter of 2021, that's the third quarter of 2021 report presented to Governor Nasir El-Rufai, is saying that 343 persons died due to banditry and other attacks, while 830 were kidnapped in the state from July to September, July, August, October.
No, they've done the Commissioner for Internal Security, Samuel Arwan, has done a good job of trying to position security in that area. They've also broken down even the victims by age, demography, and all that. So you now also 429 males were kidnapped, 222 females were kidnapped, and 179 minors. Then talking about rape, they said 10 women were kidnapped, 8 of them minors. So you can see a rise in rape of minors in that state. Because if out of 10, 8 people that they receive report of they are being raped were 8, it means that they are targeting minors, and government has a lot to do about that. So 830 kidnapped, 732 of them were kidnapped in Kaduna Central. You know, so the report, yes, so the report enables one to see the threat to education, the looming food insecurity, the collapse of rural economy, and the threats to social cohesion in the state. And that's why we are happy that these reports are coming. And the reports are not trying to paper over cracks. They are showing clearly that there is a problem.
Quite objective.
Because 780 people.
Quite objective.
780 people is a huge number.
Okay. For more discussion on this, the special advisor to the Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Elias Yaya Kura, joins us from our Abuja studio. Thank you for joining us, Elias Yaya.
Good afternoon, Elias Kura.
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us? We can't hear you.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
Okay, tell us about this security report.
Tell us more about this security report.
By correcting my name.
Kaura.
My name is Elias Yahaya Kayok.
Oh. Kayok.
Former special assistant to the deputy governor and also a special assistant to the governor on programs.
Okay,
thank you for inviting me this afternoon.
Kayok. Okay. Thank you, Elias. What can you tell us a bit more about this report, especially this the current one, when you compare it with the report we got for the second quarter?
All right. First, I'd like to appreciate first and foremost the Kaduna State Government for bringing out this report under the able leadership of Malam Nasir El-Rufai. I want to specifically appreciate Mr. Sam Arwan, the Commissioner for Internal Security, for bringing this precise report. Now, this young man is all over the place. I don't even think he has a social life. The report is very, very important because it will put to rest speculations, assumptions, and misinterpretation of what is happening in Kaduna State. Now, the report of July to September is very clear. You have read the statistics, but one of the main things I want to raise in that report is that we notice a shift from the number of people killed from the central senatorial district to more number of people killed in the southern part of the state. There are specific reasons why this report has changed. 3 specific local government. Let me also not take the path of the popular narrative. You made a very profound statement that the majority are not always right. And I would not want to push forward lexicons that have been developed by people over time and push forward to the majority of the population. I like to say that the number of people killed in southern Kaduna is alarming in 3 specific local government of Kaura, Zangon Kataf, and Kauru. Now, these are 3 local government that are always on the news. One of the key reasons why the number has increased in Zangon Kataf local government is the increase in number of killings, reprisals, and further attacks from both sides. Now, I'm very careful to say on both sides, not in terms of number. When it comes to security issues, people are very apprehensive and perhaps afraid to say some specific things. Now, we have a scenario where there is a clash between 2 people. And before you know it, even 2 people could just jam themselves with their cars And in the ensuing quarrel, it takes a religious or ethnic coloration. And before you know it, people give it different interpretations. But there are also specific moments where there are deliberate provocations by Fulani young boys left with cows and the people of southern Kaduna on their farms who are farmers. Now, these scenarios, when they play out and they are not properly taken care of, they will escalate into killings, counter killings, and on. This thing has continued to prevail in the state. It's a very, very sad one. I'd like to please send my condolences first and foremost to those who lost loved ones and property in all these crises. Nobody should be happy about this thing that are happening. It's a sad development. The government are not happy about it. The people are not happy. We are all losers on both sides. The way of peace is just the way to get out of this issue. Thank you.
Now, let us talk about kidnapping in Kaduna. The figure is staggering. The question is, why is kidnapping so rampant in Kaduna? Is this simply because it serves as the gateway to the north, so some north central states? Why do we have rampant kidnapping in these states? Kayok, are you there?
Hello?
Elias? Let's go.
I'm sure our producer is trying to establish contacts, but it's in our Abuja office.
Elias, my question is, there are so many cases of kidnapping in Kaduna, and it's been like that for some time. Is it simply because Kaduna is like a big gateway to states of the North Central? Why do we have so many cases of kidnapping?
Yeah, by the position of Kaduna, location of Kaduna, Kaduna is a gateway to other states in the north. And before the coming of Abuja, you all know that Kaduna was just like the second Nigeria, where almost everybody lived there. So there's so much interest in the city of Kaduna. And because it's a gateway, people ply that road all the time, linking the most important city of Abuja. So the increasing number of kidnapping in Abuja is as a result of the fact that a lot of people pass through Kaduna from Abuja and to other places. Like you said in part of your statement, a lot of gangs have sprung up over the years as a result of the fact that kidnapping has become to them like a trade, a business where they can get money easily. And so people break up in gangs. When there's a small issue, this guy breaks out, go form his own gang. There are scenarios, like you said, somebody is kidnapped by one gang and he's released, another gang will just kidnap him in the same forest. So it's become on and on because of the location of Kaduna. People pass there in their numbers. And it's worrisome.
Okay,
but
there
I'm
are some
sure
steps.
With the various steps that have been taken today, in the past weeks, a lot has been done. And the story of kidnapping has gone down drastically. Kidnappers cannot communicate. Their informant cannot communicate with them. They can't betray security forces who are going to comb the forest. And the combined forces of the federal security agencies has really brought in some level of sanity. And we are hoping and praying that more and more of these operations will be carried out, that peace will be restored back to Kaduna.
So, if I heard you well, it means that at the end of the year, when this report is released, we could actually have cheering news.
Yes.
Did you hear me, Kayok?
Let me touch that. Please come again.
I said, if I heard you well, are you saying that given some of the measures that the government put in place, that by the time we have another report released for the current quarter, that we could be talking about positive news?
I can be very sure of that. As we speak now, the rate of kidnapping has gone drastically down. And don't forget, the social media is all over the place. If there were more increase in kidnapping, even by now, you've had the stories all over the place. People can now sleep with their eyes closed. But don't forget, it's not as if these bandits will go to sleep. They have been suppressed and they are being dealt with. A lot of them will never in their lifetime return to kidnapping. By the time we have the fourth quarter report, I can be very sure. And that's why reports are important, because the figures will be there clear for you to see. The next report will definitely, by the grace of God, see a drastic fall in the cases of kidnapping and other violent crimes in Kaduna State.
What's your message for the good people of Kaduna who are going through some pains as a result of some measures introduced at this time?
Come again, please.
What's your message for the good people of Kaduna State, some of who are facing, going through some pains as a result of some of these measures that the government deemed necessary to come up with at this time?
First and foremost, I'd like to appeal to the people of Kaduna State to be very patient with the government. Speaking here in the studio, I know I'm also a direct victim of the shutting down of networks. You can hardly do anything, but if that is what will bring peace to us, I'd like us to cooperate with the government. We are better alive than staying connected to networks. It is going to be for a moment. I know people are facing transportation problem, people are facing communication problem. This is also a moment for us to be our brother's keepers. Those who drive around, please pick people to their places of work and pick them back. This is just for a moment, and we will come out better, stronger, and a safer Kaduna State. This is my message to the people.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The special advisor to the Deputy Governor of Kaduna State, Elias Yayakayok. Thank you so much for joining us, Jide. My takeaways from this interview: we don't get to hear of this good news, you know, when we have good developments. He has told us that, look, kidnapping and activities of these bandits, they've been reduced to a considerable, you know, level in Kaduna State. And we've all been praying for Kaduna State because it was like the heartbeats of banditry in Nigeria.
Yes, if we can, he has said that we can validate what he has said in the fullness of time as journalists. We can validate that.
At least through the final quarter, the last security report.
We want to see what happens in the final quarter. It's still a long way from now. We want to even see what happens in the next few days too, because I know the governor is determined, but you know that the people we are dealing with are also very determined. So I'm always cautious about jubilating too early. Every time we jubilated in our country in the last few years about security, we've regretted it. You know, there was a time we thought Boko Haram was dead.
Not even now that we're going into the festive period.
We now know better. So we'll wait to see, but we pray that there will be peace in Kaduna, sustained peace.
Amen.
Doesn't your final take on this?
Well, I must congratulate the guys in Kaduna, especially Samuel Aruwa. I've not met him before, but I think he's doing a good job. And then the governor, his passion is showing in what is happening. I must also say he's doing a good job. Let them just keep it up. Like he said, there are only few people who are among those who move around this country who have not stayed or passed the night in Kaduna before. So it's still a place where we all cherish. I was there for about a month at some point, at a stretch, and I enjoyed myself. But I can't go into Kaduna now.
Have you?
Not even by air.
Remember those days in the Navy base in Kaduna?
So we did it back.
And finally, there's confusion over some political development in Taraba State. Mixed reactions have continued to trail the setting aside of a Supreme Court judgment of March 6, 2019 that disqualified former acting governor of Taraba State, Sani Danladi, from contesting the 2019 governorship election for false declaration of age in the document he presented to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Justice Simon Amobeda of the Federal High Court, Jalingo, nullified the ban in a ruling. Let's share the story filed by TVC News political correspondent Owolabi Adenusi.
In 2019, a 5-man panel of Supreme Court headed by Acting Chief Judge of Nigeria, Justice Tanko Muhammad, dismissed an appeal filed by the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress APC, Sani Danladi, for being incompetent and failing to meet the requirements of the law. Senator Danladi, an APC governorship candidate, took the fight to the Supreme Court but failed to get the judgment overturned by the Apex Court. A twist of fate has now set him free. A high court sitting in Jalingo has just cleared him to contest future elections in the country. The judge held that the court has jurisdiction to set aside its earlier judgment, and by virtue of the plaintiff's affidavit, he can participate in any election, citing the case between Supreme Court versus Ngadi, INEC versus Okoro Ogwani, and Kogi State versus INEC. The ruling has generated reactions from lawyers and public commentators. A cross-section of people who spoke to TVC News shared their views on implications of the judgment.
Recently, of course, we had a judgment clearing Sani Abubakar Danladi that he is now eligible to contest an election. To us, as members of the society, it is a surprise for us to see that a Supreme Court will take a decision, affirm what was laid in the Court of Appeal and lower court respectively, for now to have said that they have cleared. This is a very serious matter. This will create a lot of confusion in the society.
The decision made by the Federal High Court, I think this is a kangaroo decision. It is a rape, an ambush to the justice system of Nigeria.
David Kashima, counsel to Senator Sani Danladi, describes the judgment as a victory for the rule of law, saying his client no longer has any encumbrances from participating in political activities in the country.
We had both an application, filed a suit for Sani Danladi to have the orders of the court made in 2019 set aside. Certain members of the All Progressive Party in 2019 filed a suit against the candidature of Sani Danladi to contest the governorship of Taraba State under the platform of the All Progressive Congress. And the court made those orders disqualifying him from contesting that election. Aggrieved by that decision, we came back to this court, which made those orders, to have those orders set aside. And his lordship, in his wisdom, in the ordered judgment just delivered by him, set aside that judgment and the orders made therein that he was wrongly disqualified.
If the latest ruling goes unchallenged, the former acting governor of Taraba State is now a free man, free to contest elective positions.
All right, Jide, from the reaction I got from this story and from what I've read, this can be said to just be an academic exercise.
I don't, please, I'm just, in our country these days, maybe when the lawyers, when we ask our friends, because I'm extremely confused.
But the good news for me, Mikio, is that the acting Chief Judge of Nigeria,
yes,
who gave this ruling, is now the Chief Judge of Nigeria. It's good news. And we know what has happened in the last few months.
The one who gave the judgment originally.
Yes. With the National Judicial Council querying some judges for, giving conflicting orders and all that.
Even out of jurisdiction. A judge sat in Kudu, Kaduna State, and gave judgment on a matter that has to do with Anambra. Completely out of
one
his
in
jurisdiction.
Kaduna with others to do in rivers.
Yes. And there was another one in Cross River, in respect of the former chairman of National Chairman PDP. So, in this case, you see, when things happen sometimes, the best thing to do is just to sit back and watch. Nothing strange, nothing really appears to me as too strange in our country anymore.
What's the what?
Things happen.
Anything can happen.
You see, things happen. You just keep your mind calm and remind yourself that, look, you are in Nigeria. And funny things happen within the judiciary, and the chief judge will do well to descend heavily on people who are giving the judiciary a bad name. Where, for me, I'm shocked that a matter that got all the way to the Supreme Court, the moment it got to the Supreme Court, it has already stripped the lower court of any power that this lower court felt that it had on the matter. It had now become a Supreme Court matter. And when they are talking about the judgment, it is the judgment of the Supreme Court, which is the final court that people will talk about. The Supreme Court itself is never in the habit of revisiting a judgment that it has given.
Or reversing itself.
Justice Amina Ogie said it that day, when some senior lawyers who should know better took a matter before the Supreme Court, asking the Supreme Court
using the court process
to reverse itself. The woman said that, look, it is even not just illogical but unconstitutional for the Supreme Court to reverse itself. Now we see a lower court saying that it has jurisdiction
of turning
an earlier judgment
of the Supreme Court.
At the time, for the sake of Nigerians who need to know a lot more, at the time the Supreme Court gave its judgment, the elections had even taken place. The elections had taken place. The matter, they were the tribunal. The APC had to apply to the tribunal to allow it to substitute the candidate. So that in case it won at the level of the tribunal, that new candidate will be the one that will become governor. So to tell you that this is not a matter that is new, it went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court gave its judgment. Now,
we thought that would be.
I'm just confused. Honestly, I've seen many strange things happen within the judiciary. This one, in my view, is even worse than that judge sitting in Kudu and deciding an Anambra matter.
It's worse.
Sometimes you begin to look at it, say, is it that because you are not a lawyer? But when you now talk to your lawyer friends, and when they can analyzing these things, you see that, look, this thing is so embarrassing.
It's just we are in a strange country where anything can happen. Like some said at some point in this country, that some judges, they give judgments to get what they call retirement package. They already know that they are on the verge of leaving. So it is, I want to deliver this judgment. What is in it for me?
Whatever happens,
whatever happens after that, I don't care. And we've seen this happening especially since our return to democracy. Even as a journalist, even as a layman, you see some things and you are amazed because you can't believe it. How will you, in those instances we just cited, sit in a far northern state and be making pronouncement on a matter in the southeast? A matter completely out of your jurisdiction, but somebody has run to you in order to stop a process that he knows is going to take place the following day.
Yes.
And wants to serve that judgment. It doesn't even sound right. I don't know.
Ex parte order.
It doesn't even sound right.
This
So,
one
and
is
in this case, like I said,
judgment.
it's a full judgment. Like I said, in this case, I'm so happy that it has happened the way it
Ex
is.
parte has an expired date.
Yes. It was the acting chief, it was the chief judge now that gave that judgment.
Okay, to solve this legal puzzle and legal whatever, a Lagos-based lawyer, Libros Oshoma, is on line with us. Libros. Baisa Oshoma, thank you for joining us.
Yes, I can hear you, Ayo. Yeah, good afternoon, Ayo. And,
yes.
You look really fresh.
All of you.
Yes.
You look really fresh.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm sure you are doing this interview from
You are doing well.
From his
the
own
Bagada office, from Oshoma and Co.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. I've visited this chamber.
Let's talk about this matter. You know, we are laymen. That's how you like to address us. We are laymen. We are really
We don't understand this.
we are very perplexed.
Yes, I have listened to you people, and you people are spot on with what has happened. And Justice Kayode once described such scenarios that behind every allegation of bribery against a judge, there's a senior advocate who is a conveyor belt. I do not think that this judgment, would come empty-handed, because the judge also knows the implication of what he has done. I would, Otutoju gave example with the Berenikebi, the Anambra State issue, and the Supreme Court came down heavily on the judge in Berenikebi. I also would quickly draw your attention to what happened in Akwa Ibom. If you remember, Professor Peter Ogun, that was convicted by a judge in the
electoral fraud,
for compromise, for electoral fraud. Do you know that another judge, Justice Pius Idiong, in that same Ikotekpene, the same High Court granted bail pending appeal to that professor on the grounds that even though he admitted that the judge had the applicant had not met the requirement for granting bail pending appeal, which he listed, but he went ahead to say that because there's likelihood that the matter will delay at the Court of Appeal. So he already had the foresight. He went into the Court of Appeal docket and know that the matter will delay and granted bail pending appeal. So issues like that further ridicules the judiciary. And look at even that Berenikebi's case. Let me also tell you that the Berenikebi's case, it is lawyers also, because lawyers on the other side have gone to Ibadan at some point to get an order. So when the respondent then, who were applicants in Berenikebi, objected, they said, no, being a national party, any applicant who will feel aggrieved, no matter where you are, can apply to court. So it was that same argument that the respondent in Ibadan now used against them when they became applicants in Berenikebi. And I must also tell you that the cases cited by the judge, those cases do not fall within the ambit of the discretion that the judge has exercised. He cited the cases of, I forgot the name, against INEC. In those cases, what transpired in those cases were the fact that INEC was the one that actually suspended those applicants. And the court ruled that INEC does not have such powers to disqualify. Was the case of disqualification by INEC. And the court ruled that INEC does not have powers to disqualify such candidate. But in this case, this applicant was actually disqualified by the court and such decision upheld by the Supreme Court. So, even the pronouncement of that judge, he went ahead to say that the decision of the Supreme Court, he made that pronouncement, especially in the judgment, that the Supreme Court, the decision of the Supreme Court had been nullified. The decision of the Supreme Court suspending the applicant had been nullified. Even elementary law students know that a high court does not have powers. A high court decision does not have powers to overrule the decision of the Supreme Court. A court of appeal, not to talk of a Supreme Court. And so that is why it becomes laughable that a judge of the Federal High Court will sit down and take a decision, nullifying a decision already, allowed by the Supreme Court. And I think, like Otutoju has said, this would be an opportunity where the NJC does not need to wait for a petition to be written. They do not need to wait for a petition to be written for the NJC to take a decisive decision against the judge.
No, wait for his general.
I want to thank you, Libros Oshoma, for that smart and fast clarification, because it would have left us.
we will have remained in our sea of confusion.
Even elementary law students, you know that a high court judgment cannot supersede that of Supreme Court. Sometimes this law thing.
You cannot set aside a high court judge cannot set aside the judgment of the Supreme Court.
Sometimes this law thing can be tiring. They will not tell you that it's really behind the law.
What did you say?
Thank you. I said the judge said he nullified
the Supreme Court
decision of the Supreme Court.
The judge.
For me, I've been wondering. I've been wondering.
All right.
Where is this? No. I'm sad though. I'm sad, really.
No, any lawyer who values his week will be sad.
Honestly.
It will be sad.
Thank you, Libros. Thank you, Libros, for that clarification.
Yeah.
Maybe it's coochies that the judge, maybe he took.
This, as we said, there is always a reason behind these actions. These actions don't just
happen. It's not like Dosu said
by happenstance. These are deliberate. People set out to do it, know their reason. Somebody said, that Danladi asked for this, went before this court because he wanted to take over the structures of the APC in Taraba State. But as we have seen, even the congresses that they have had, they are going to have fresh congresses in that state.
All over.
So the battle, even if we want to take over,
the entire process.
You don't. At the end of the day, the judiciary has been put to shame again. Put to shame again.
It's a big shame.
I doff my hat.
It's a big shame. No, I think let's wait for the NJC.
Oh no.
But like
they shouldn't wait for any petition though.
There should not, and
this is a clear case.
The NJC can even go out of its way to sit on this, especially because it's ridiculous. It shouldn't wait for his regular meeting.
The more they are destroying their own reputation, Nigerian lawyers, and foreign lawyers are coming in to do big deals in our country. They are getting big briefs from all these multinational corporations because nobody trusts them anymore. And it's because of things like this. You've turned the judiciary, the image of the judiciary, you've turned this on its head.
That's what Lebron said.
Put the judiciary to shame
you find
by this kind of thing that even an artisan cannot even contemplate what some of these judges are doing.
Dr. Oladipo, thank you for your contribution.
I thank you
in the last 120 minutes. Babajide Otoju, thank you for the last. It's an extended version of Journalist Hangout. I will told you Journalist Hangout on Sundays, 2 hours, 1:30 to 3:30, and that's all we have today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch the repeat broadcast by 11:30 today, and we're on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzuba. Bye for now, and God bless.